Right. All right, guys, let's get to it. I just got off the muscles and movement kickoff call, so I'm excited for those of you guys that are participating in that. Be sure to connect with your coach if you are. Make sure that they know that you're participating in it. Talk to them specifically about how you're using that challenge, why you're using it, and then what would be most meaningful for you to accomplish over the next 10 days. So if you're playing that game, let it be meaningful to you to really make some progress in some category. And I shared it on the kickoff call, but if you are doing it, it is a good reminder for everybody, you know, there's 3 things that really make workouts and movement consistent for people. So I can give you all the workouts in the world, and we can talk to you about all the benefits of it, and it still might not stick if you're not doing these 3 things. And so I'm going to kick off this call with that reminder. So number 1 is putting your workouts in your calendar. So if you are intentional about putting things, whether it's a workout session or whether it's a walking session, whatever it is, if you put it in your calendar, it is 9 times out of 10 more likely to happen. And this is one of the simplest things that you can do to create consistency. Sometimes we're like, oh, why didn't I get to it? How did I run out of time? How come my day got away from me? It never was in your day to begin with. You never planned for it. It never had its own spot. Of course it was going to get bumped. You're busy. So that's going to be step 1, is getting it in. Georgia, do we have to do that right now? Can you do that somewhere else? Bonnie, get down. Chaos behind me between the dog and the daughter. So that's step 1. Step 2 for creating consistency in your workouts in movement is accountability. And so are you utilizing accountability? Hold on one second. Yes, she hasn't played with that stroller at all anytime recently. Like not in months, guys, not in months has that stroller come out until right now. So the second piece of creating consistency in your workouts and movement is accountability. And accountability can look like a couple of different things. So accountability can look like having an accountability buddy. Accountability can look like having a coach who is your accountability partner. Accountability can look like having a plan where you know that you have to check boxes, right? Like even in our Fitme app, like having, okay, I did that thing today. That can be accountability. So there's different ways that you can create accountability, but almost anybody that I know who's consistent in their workouts and movement has some degree of accountability, and maybe multiple layers. They might have all 3 of those things: accountability buddy, a coach, and a plan. That really helps create consistency in your workouts and movements. And then the third thing is the willingness to take action. And so taking action means we're not relying on motivation to do our workouts and movement. We are going to get started regardless because we committed to it. So we're going to commit to doing it no matter what. And even that does not mean, though, that we are committed to doing the whole thing. So the reason that I think action can be so effective is because when we are taking action, we can't, for example, just commit to the first 10 minutes. And if we're just committed to the first 10 minutes, then when you are struggling with the feeling of like, I don't feel like it, I can't do it, I'm not up for it, and you're saying, well, I could probably convince myself to do 10 minutes, then you get past the mental resistance of that first 10 minutes. And then usually 9 times out of 10, you're going to finish doing the thing because you've gotten past the hard part. You're already there. You've gotten moving, your body, your blood's flowing, your brain has started to switch gears. And now it's much more doable to continue to do it. And so those 3 things are kind of what I like briefly mentioned on the challenge kickoff call, but I thought that we could talk about a little bit more in detail on this call as a part of our Fitme family, is kind of like, how do we really do this? Because if you're not doing these things, then, when we give everybody a Fitme assessment when they first start, it's like, how consistent, how many days a week are you doing strength sessions? You know, how confident are you at being consistent and doing your strength sessions? How many days a week are you doing at least 30 minutes of intentional movement? And, you know, so that is one of the things that is at the core of what we are measuring when we're creating a healthy lifestyle. So this strategy that I'm giving you, this kind of, you know, here are the 3 things that you do. These are not like even suggestions. These are tried and true. Everybody I know who does workouts or walking consistently does these in some form. These 3 things. They're not looking for motivation. They're not looking for the perfect workout plan. They're not looking for, you know, X, Y, and Z. It's these things that they're doing. They're scheduling, and you need to schedule in real life. So it's all well and good to imagine that Tuesday at 9 o'clock, you're going to do it. But I'm talking about physically put it in your calendar, and don't book over top of it. If you book over top of it, it's not for real. And so it's not just like a penciled in time. You need to start thinking, okay, well, if I go to the gym, then I'm going to need 15 minutes after. Like you actually have to imagine it in your real life. Okay, I'm going to need 20 minutes to drive to the gym. I'm going to need a buffer in the beginning. So when you start to think, how am I going to do that? Well, can I leave work? You know, can I pack my stuff? You start to problem solve, and then you start to create the actual show up and do it. So if it's not in your calendar, all the problem solving doesn't happen. You're just hoping that you have time to leave, and then you don't have time, and so you don't go. Or you're hoping you remember your clothes because you might go at lunch, but you don't remember your clothes, so you don't go. And so when we put it in our calendar, I'm not just saying pencil it in. I'm saying pen it in with black ink. You know, this is your time for you. Guaranteed the rest of your calendar is for everybody else. The rest of your calendar is for everybody else. So why not ink in some time for you? And so number 1, if you are not doing this, this is your action step for the week. You must start putting when you're going to do your workouts and when you're going to do your walks in your calendar. Now, if you're already doing them, if you're already doing at least 3 strength workouts a week, and you are already walking most days, a minimum of 30 minutes, and you don't need to put in your calendar, great. Not a problem for you. But if you are not doing those things, then this is what we need to do. And I bet if you are very, very consistent, you probably did it at one point. I bet at one point you did need to put it in your calendar until you created that habit and routine. So scheduling, piece 1. So piece 2 that I mentioned is accountability. Now, accountability can be multiple forms. In Fitme, you have access to all of them. If you need an accountability buddy, all you need to do is ask your coach. Because guess what? Your coach isn't your accountability buddy. Your coach is your coach. Your coach is going to have hard conversations with you, guide you forward, move you into the next step, create action. That's your coach's job. Accountability buddy, a little different. More kind of like a friend who is willing to show up for you, and you're willing to show up for them for a particular thing. And we've done coaching calls on accountability before, but I just want to bring it up that typically an accountability buddy works best when you've agreed upon what it is you're going to be accountable to each other for. And then you've communicated how you're going to do it. So, hey, we're going to text each other after we do our workouts each week, or, hey, like, let's share this notes file and I can see yours, you can see mine, or, hey, you know, tag me in your sweaty selfies and I'll tag you back. You have to like decide how it is you're going to hold each other accountable. And then you can even decide on a timeline. Everybody's like, why do I need to decide on a timeline? And I'm like, well, because you're probably not going to be accountability buddies for the rest of your life. So instead of having to just like fall off and be weird, like define a time interval. Say, hey, I'm really working hard on this, you know, for the next 3 months. Like, will you be my buddy like over this next season? Or maybe you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I'm really working hard on this for the next 30 days. Like, will you help me? Then you can be very specific. And if you want to continue the accountability buddy relationship, well, then do it. It can extend beyond that time period. So accountability buddy was one way. Accountability with your coach is another. And again, you are in the driver's seat when it comes to your relationship with your coach. Yes, they are, you know, going to be able to guide you, direct you, all of that good stuff. But when you need accountability buddy or accountability or additional layer of accountability, you need to ask for it, because that's part of the skill set that you're developing, because your coach is not going to necessarily know that you're struggling with something unless you tell them. And so if you tell them, hey, I know I need to be getting 3 strength workouts in a week and I'm just not doing them right now. And I know they're in there, but can we add that to my app so that I can like check that as a habit that I did it so I can start to see progress? Just ask. Or if you're like, hey, I'm doing, I'm going to my gym and I'm just not as consistent as I need to be. Can we set a goal in the app to hit 50 workouts? Because you can actually set a goal in the app. And so then you can work towards that number and you and your coach can see it. Or, hey, like, would it be all right if I just, post a picture in here so that you can see and hold me accountable that I've done X, Y, and Z? Asking your coach to hold you accountable is really important because your coach is going to be able to sanity check you in a way that your accountability buddy might not, because your coach has your big picture in mind. Your coach has your goals, knows the big picture, knows a lot more about what's going on with you. And they can be like, wait a minute, you're asking me to hold you accountable 5 workouts a week. You've never been able to do 5 workouts a week. We've only been doing 2. Like, why don't we commit to 3 first? Or like, hey, like aren't you getting ready to go on this crazy thing for work? Like, how about we commit to this so that you can be successful and follow through on it, or do it. Or maybe it's the other direction. Maybe your coach is like, you know what, Terry, you've been doing 2 workouts a week for the past year. Let's up the ante now. It's time to do more. So yes, I'll hold you accountable, but like, let's level it up a little bit and do 3. So your coach is a great person to have this conversation with because they have the big picture. They know what you're working on. They know you. They know if you need to be pushed or if you need to be checked, and they can help it fit into the context of your real life. So they can create that accountability structure that'll help you be consistent with your movement. They can also help you troubleshoot, right? You're like, hey, I have no idea. I know I need to be walking, but I just don't know where. They can help you troubleshoot because they can peel back the layers of your life and say, like, what if we put 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here? Would that work? Is that something you can commit to? Okay, yes, let's commit to it. I'm going to put it in your app and you can check it off every time you do it. So then that is a way to utilize your coach for accountability, but as an accountability layer. And then maybe your accountability buddy is somebody who's actually walking with you. That's how that looks different. Someone who you're like, hey, I told my coach I would do 3 times, a day of these 10-minute walks. Like, you're my buddy at work. Would you be willing to do that with me? Like, could we go together? And they, that's what that looks like. So those 2 things are key in creating consistency in your workouts and movement. And then that third piece is this understanding that motivation is probably not going to be there most of the time. It's not. You're really not doing the most important things in your life because you feel motivated. You're not feeding your dog or taking care of your kids or listening to a person you love who needs to talk. You're probably not doing that because you feel motivated. You're not showing up to work because you feel motivated. You're not paying your bills because you feel motivated. None of those things require motivation. Now, it's nice if we feel motivated. That's great, but that isn't necessarily required. In fact, the belief system that it is required is hurting you because you're waiting for it. And we don't want to wait for it. We have to take care of our bodies regardless of if we feel motivated, just like we take care of those other things. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have a house because you wouldn't pay your mortgage. You would never feel motivated to do it. You wouldn't have anything because you wouldn't pay your bills. I mean, your plants would die. Your pets would run away. Your kids would be like, what's going on? Like, none of that stuff would work out for you. And you don't do those things consistently because you're motivated. And so we just have to take that same principle and say, like, how do I get past that feeling? Right? Because at the end of the day, you have your little inner voice wins sometimes and says, like, I don't feel motivated to work out today. So we're just going to sit here and we'll do it later. We'll do it tomorrow. And that inner voice can win. So how do you defeat that inner voice? My strategy is with action. So that's that get up and commit to 10 minutes. Something that's so easy that that inner voice cannot win. You're like, an hour sounds really hard. Inner voice is like, too hard. You're tired. You got up early. You stayed up late. Stuff was stressful. Your kids need you to be here. Blah, 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 blah. You're like, can't do it. But then you're like, Christy said 10 minutes is my minimum. I can't really say I can't do 10 minutes. So I'm going to get up and do 10 minutes of whatever. And then again, remember that action tells that inner voice to be quiet. And then you usually can finish whatever it is you set out for. Not always, right? We're not just tricking ourselves. If you get started and 10 minutes later, you're like, I don't feel good. I'm just not able to do this today. Well, you did what I suggested. You did the 10 minutes. So then you really are feeling bad today. It's not just the little inner voice. You really do feel bad. Sometimes we can't tell. We're like, we're like not sure. Who's ever said that? Like, I'm not sure if I want to do this today. It's because we're really not sure. We're like, am I really too tired, or would I be okay? I don't know. I can't tell. Like, and then we even talk to other people. We're like, I can't decide. Should I go to the gym today? And then depending on the person, they might totally talk you down. Nah, you don't need to go. You've been doing so good. You're like pretty consistent. You've been working so hard. And so, yeah, I think that is, the key, those three things. So just to recap, and then I want to use the last couple minutes to discuss. Creating consistency in your workouts and exercise require three things: scheduling, accountability, and action. You know what's funny is I wanted to make an acronym about this. And what was I gonna, I came up with an acronym, but it was like not good because it like spelled ass or something. It was like really bad. And I was like, can't use that acronym. That's not it. And I was like, cannot do that one. But I couldn't come up with an acronym. So anyways, those are the things: accountability, scheduling, and action. And so let's use this last 10 minutes to talk about it. Again, you're going to see lots of this stuff happening in the Facebook group, but I wanted to give you guys a much deeper dive as Fitme clients and part of the Fitme family so that you could really peel back the layers on this and employ this right now with your coach. And remember, everything that I just described on this call is available. So remember, if you need an accountability buddy, your coach will find you one. Just ask. If you want something added to your app, talk to your coach about it. If you need to have additional layer of support, just ask for it. That's what we're here for. So talk to me, guys. Tell me your thoughts on this. And if you have other strategies that have helped you be successful, then share those too.
Sorry, I just joined. This is Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
I missed the first 20 minutes.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was doing my Fitme assessment. I completely forgot to do. So I did that, but I also couldn't get in the link. So I was waiting for that from Jamie Lynn.
Jamie Lynn said that there was some kind of mix up with the link. So I'm not sure what happened, but I think she's going to correct it for people. That's probably why I was wondering why there's so few on here, because we usually have about double this amount, but glad you made it, Sheila.
Thanks.
Pumped you're here. This is your first Sunday call.
Yes, ma'am. And I missed the first 20 minutes.
That's okay. It's recorded and we send it out tomorrow morning, so you can always catch the beginning.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We always send it out as a recording.
Awesome. Awesome.
What are your thoughts, guys? Anything? Leah, what do you think? I feel like these are the
I'm going to say, yeah, they are. I'm going to say something. So I've been doing this a long time. And so it's not like something I feel like goes away. I feel like I always need accountability. I always need to schedule it. I always need all the things. And so I have like a few different things. I enjoy doing different things fitness wise. And so like, if I'm totally not motivated, I'll just go to CrossFit because people are there. They'll boss me around. Like, it's accountability and it's kind of motivating and fun.
That's your
feels
action.
Funner.
Yeah, that's your
that's my action. Yeah, that's my easy action. And so if I don't feel like doing something, I'm like, I'll just go to class, get it over with. And by the time I'm there and blah blah blah, I'm like, yay, that was so awesome. That's a great way to use like a class setting. And the other thing I also do is like I pay for programming. So it's just like the app. Like I have a box I can check, I have to check, right? And if I don't work out or do my thing for, certain days, it's empty. And so it's like, that's a piece of accountability for me also to be like, oh, I got to check that box, right? I mean, I feel like it's just the same as the app or like any of the programs that we give. And so that's another form. And also just touching on the motivation as someone who has done this a long time, sometimes I don't want to. And Chrissy's like so right about we're not always going to have the motivation, but I always remind myself, like, I'll regret not doing it, but I never regret doing it. And so I kind of like talk myself up in terms of like motivation instead of having it just like trying to like have it or not. So I don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts. And like today I met somebody at the gym. Like I did not want to go today at all. But my friend messaged me and, you know, she's a shift worker. So she only has certain days off. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go because that's somebody waiting for me, giving me more accountability. So I use a lot of different things, but I think that the accountability piece is a big deal.
Yeah, the accountability piece is so huge. It does never
Mhm.
go away. I mean,
Mhm.
and again, you can have different layers of accountability, but there is zero shame in paying for accountability. Every single person on this call has paid for accountability because it works.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're self-aware, and it means you're serious about your goals. And so I love that. And I actually think, Leah, what you were saying about the action one, I would call the action almost like an umbrella. It's like ways to trick yourself to doing it. That could be the 10-minute rule. It could be changing your clothes. It could be picking the thing that is the easiest for you to do. Maybe somebody bossing you around, you know, like whatever it is, just pick the easiest thing to actually take action on, whatever that looks like. And I do think changing your clothes falls in that category, because sometimes you're like, why can't I work out? And you're like still in your pajamas. Well, maybe the first step in action is just to put on your workout clothes and your tennis shoes. And then now like you've already got closer.
I've talked myself out of a million walks because I'm hanging out in sweats, right? And I'm like,
Right.
screw it, I'm comfy. Like that's such a good like tip, like put the clothes on.
Yeah. And sometimes action can just be put your butt in the car. Like drive yourself there, then you can decide. Again, like you're just tricking yourself, but sometimes you got to. The little inner voice doesn't get to win. Any other thoughts, guys?
I don't let, I'm not consistent, but I don't let whatever clothes I'm in dictate what I'm going to do. I mean, there's been many times where I've done a workout in jeans and a regular shirt.
Good
I mean,
job.
and my pajamas are my workout clothes. So I really don't have an excuse in the morning. But accountability partners are really important. I've had a few who are on here that have been my accountability partner, but I think my lifelong one will be my sister who's on here. So I think that won't have a time limit. And she, between Marlena and Julie, they inspire me and make me want to get things done. And then Leah kicks my butt. So she gets it in gear. And she's truthful with me when I need to hear the truth. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny, Terry, about what you just said is like you identified what is key for you, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like the thing that really helps you create consistency might look different for you than it does for Leah, than it does for me. But one of the traps we can fall into is what you were just describing, actually, which is like we all see Marlena, Coach Marlena's up at 4 a.m. walking on the weekend. She's putting down, 15 miles with her kid. It's really easy to get caught up in like watching other people do it. Sometimes it can feel like, man, I would have done nothing today if I hadn't seen her do it. I'm going. And that is very helpful. And then other times we get sucked into the scroll. And so make sure you put that in check. If the scroll is overlapping with the time that you are supposed to be doing something, then you're tricking yourself right now. You're procrastinating. And so I always think we should just check that scroll, because I've done that too. I've even walked my butt to my garage gym, sat down, started scrolling, and wasted my whole hour that I was supposed to be doing it. Sometimes I have to put my phone on do not disturb because I get so many notifications and things. But if I'm not careful, I'll waste my entire workout hour on my phone. And so we have to put those buffers and boundaries in place too. But most of the time, Coach Marlena is like the kind of person you see and you're like, well, I got to get up now. She just made me get up. Look at her. She's on some freaking rock right now. She hiked 15 miles for this call.
No, my son made us come back so he could take pictures of the sunset. So we're sitting here in the cold waiting for the sun to set.
I love it.
Yeah, I started too with the calendar. I had to because the evenings weren't working for me. So setting my alarm, I set 2 alarms in the morning to make sure that I get up. But my action, I think, is rolling out of bed onto the floor. That's the first thing I do. When as soon as my alarm goes off, I turn it off. I stretch a little in the bed, but then I roll to the floor and I get on the ground and I start doing stretches, and that just kind of gets me going for the morning. And as long as I do that, then I just get up and do the next thing, and then get up and do the next thing, go to the bathroom, get dressed, go outside. But it's just, I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, so it's just become habit. But my accountability, I think now has turned into other people's accountability. So I know there's people who are counting on me to check in on them in the morning. And so that kind of gets me up too.
I relate to that a lot. Having people who are relying on you can be an incredibly compelling reason to be consistent. So I'm so glad you shared that. And Marlena, I think what you also shared was the concept of like little triggers. So you're not focused on the next 4 steps, you're focused on this first one.
Yeah.
And so you do the first one, which is the roll out of bed and get your stretching on the floor. That's what you think about. And then you do the next one, and then you do the next one. That is just a great strategy in general for life, but typically that is also a good strategy for creating consistency, especially when you feel overwhelmed or tired, because those feelings are legitimate feelings.
And I think when you do that, you take the thought process out of it. And that's when you get caught up and you start negotiating with yourself. So if you just continue and do the next thing and do the next thing, you just take that whole thought process away.
Yeah, it's again in that category of easy action. It's like 15 things too hard. Can't do that. Can I roll out of bed and stretch on the floor? I can do that one. So you just do that one, and then you do the next one. But this is not I guess what I would say is being consistent with your workouts is not a character trait. This is not something that you either lucked out and have or don't have. Like, I wish I could be like so-and-so. She's so consistent. I'm just not like that. No. That is limiting belief written all over it. This is a skill set you can develop and that you can customize for you. And so which it is for everybody here, and it should be for everyone, getting consistent with your movements and workouts is important in your life, then develop this skill set and use these 3 things that we're talking about here to start to build strength in that skill set. Skill sets always feel hard at first. They feel uncomfortable. You're not used to it. It's challenging, and then it becomes easier. And then it becomes so easy that it's just what you do. And it's not a thing anymore. Even though you're still intentional about it, like Leah said, this never goes away. You already know that you need it. You're not even wondering, So hopefully this is helpful, guys. Your action step is really clear. Get consistent with your movement and exercise this week. I don't want you to talk about it. I want you to do it. If you don't have it in your schedule, this is the week it starts getting put in your schedule. If you haven't talked to your coach about what level of accountability you need, this is the week it needs to happen. If you've been thinking about getting an accountability buddy for a while, this is the week it's going to happen for you. And so go ahead and get those wheels in motion, and then figure out what's your easy action trigger. What is it that helps you get moving when you don't feel like it? Figure out what that trigger might be and try one. And start to develop that for you. And you guys are going to see a lot of people in the Facebook group, a lot of people that are just barely putting their toe in the water to make some of these changes. So if you see them in there, feel free to give them some encouragement and some love. You guys are Fitme family. You're already in motion. You're already doing the thing. And so remember what it feels like when you're just like, I don't even know these people and I'm afraid, so just say hello, introduce yourself, encourage them if you see them posting. If it's something weird, just tell them, good try. Keep going, it's okay. It's a safe place for people to try. So awesome, guys. Well, thanks for everything. If you need anything, just reach out. And thanks for bearing with me at the beginning with the dog and the stroller and the chaos. But I will see you guys later. Have a great week. Bye.